in human history of knowledge, one of our problem has been that we develop analogies to understand something and then we get trapped in those analogies. We are fascinating beings. We create analogies to make something understood, and then once we have understood that, we just stick to that analogy. Linear time. A time is not a line. A line is a line. We use this phrase linear time because it was convenient to make people understand what time is like. Time is like a stream, parallel streams. Time is like a stream. You are born into this world, you step into that stream. When you die, you step out of it. That's linear time. It's irreversible flow. What is gone, you can't go back. What is there to come, it will come. This is the linear time, the concept of linear time. Well, time is not that linear. And it used to be the classical view. Let me remind you, we don't have this view in physics anymore. But the problem is that the general perception, जो लोगों की अमूमी ज़हनियत है, वो अभी तक classical physics में फंसी हुई है. If you ask anyone, what is time and space? If he has read physics, he will tell you that these are not two realities. These are the two names of the same reality. Well, the classical model of the physics told us what? That space is kind of a container. It's fixed. It's unchanging, which holds objects. You can give an analogy of a billiard board, of a billiard table, where you have the billiard balls. Well, this table, that is space. And then these balls, when you hit a ball, it collides with another. So things change, the arrangement changes, but nothing changes in the table. So space was thought to be a fixed container, which does not change according to objects. And what was time? In the classical model, it was a measure of change. What is change? You have these 7-8 billiard balls, and they have a specific arrangement, and you see them. And then you see them again, and now ball 8 that was with ball 1 is now with ball 9. So they have changed. So something has to happen for this ball to shift from here to here. The balls remain the same, but the arrangement has changed. So the thing that measured that change is time in classical model. It's not the model anymore. We still, in a common perception, we have that model, but it's gone. The paradigm shift came with Einstein's special theory of relativity that he expounded later in his general theory of relativity. Well, he showed through mathematical progression and mathematical formulations that there is nothing fixed in this universe. There is no fixed frame of reference. Even time is not fixed. Even space is not fixed. Space changes according to the objects it contains. And the time changes according to the speed of the objects they travel. Well, if I'm traveling closer to the speed of light, and if I travel outside this orbit of the Earth and I come back, well, from the Earth's frame of reference, many years would have passed. But from my frame of reference, time will be different. Well, you put a clock here on Earth and another in a shuttle, in a space shuttle, who is orbiting the Earth, the clock in the shuttle will tick slowly. Because when the speed is accelerated, time slows down. Hence the notion that the speed of light, 300,000 kilometers approximately, something that attains to that speed of light is eternal. Nothing will pass. So Einstein showed us one thing, that things are not fixed everywhere. Things change. Even time changes. Time bends. Space changes. Space bends. But our general perception, of course, remains the same. Well, but still, science sticks to linear time. No, that's another story. I'm not going into that. The problem is, what is time? What is space? Well, Einstein showed us they are intertwining realities. They are not two different things. Time is not something that is forced upon objects, and space is not something that is forced upon objects, but the objects are themselves creating space. And the objects are themselves creating time, because the faster they go, the slower the time becomes. And this is the same notion that Fakhruddin Iraqi gave us thousands of years back. when he gave the concept of uneven time. It's very difficult to grasp that concept right now because we are so governed by time. But according to Fakhruddin Iraqi, time was very subjective and it was uneven. For example, the quality of time in the morning is different than the quality of time in the evening. The speed of the time spent with my friends is different than the speed of time I spend with my wife. You see, it's all relative. It's all relative. Don't be so serious about this. I mean, I don't even understand it myself. So, if it is relative, there cannot be a uniform time in the whole of the universe. It depends on how fast an object is moving. The time is relative to that. That's Einsteinian special theory of relativity. But the problem is, what is time and space? He said they were intertwining realities. My question is whether space can exist without time, and can time exist without space? That is a very pertinent question we must ask. Now imagine a universe which has space but no time, and imagine a universe which has time but no space. Well, there are billiard balls on the table, and then they have changed the positions. Or let's see, bring it down to more understandable version. A cricket match, a bowler is bowling. You see, there is one snap that the ball is in the hand of the bowler, and then there is another snap that the ball is in the hand of the wicket keeper. If there is no time, how will that happen? Because time is the measure of change. It's impossible for the ball, because you see the ball remains the same in the hand of the bowler and in the hand of the wicket keeper, but its relation to the things around it has changed, and time is something that measures that change. So how can you have a space that is changing without time? It's impossible. And now how can you have a space without time? And how can you have a time without space? If there is nothing to measure time with, would we even know there is a time? We won't. So that's why Einstein was right when he said that it's an impossibility for time and space to be separate. They're intertwining realities, interdependent. Time and space will only be created when they are in connection. And of course, in relativity, the objects will define how fast they are going, what time is. So that brings us to the notion. And if somebody objects to that, well, they have all the right. If there is a physicist here or the student of physics here, they can object to what I'm saying. But let me tell you one thing, humbly, very humbly. I'm a religious scholar and not a physicist. But I would like to ask you one thing, that I do trust in mathematical measurements. Of course, I do. I have read physics. But let me tell you one thing, with our present notions of mass and gravity, everything should be flying apart. That's what it is. But it does not. Why it does not? Well, the physicists, they posit dark matter. How much dark matter is there? Well, listen to it. 98% of the universe is dark matter. Okay, 98% of the universe is dark matter. That's why the world is not falling apart. What is that dark matter? Well, the physicists would say, we don't know. Because you can't observe it. That's why it's a dark matter. Well, I'm sorry, sir, you call me religious. You're also quite religious. If I have to believe in something that I cannot observe and still believe there's 90% of the universe, and of course I do believe there is dark matter, and of course I do believe it's 98%. So we are not that irreligious anyways, whether we are physicists or we are moralists or we are religious scholars. So now, if you understand what I'm saying, what Einstein showed us, that there can be different time streams at the same time. It depends on how fast an object is moving. Like Quran says, in the same way, ترجع الملائکہ والروح الیہ فی یوم. ملائکہ اور ارواح ایک دن میں چڑھتی ہیں اللہ کے پاس. قانا بقدرہ 50 الف سنہ. And by your reckoning, it's 50,000 years. 50,000 سال زمین کے ایک دن کے برابر ہیں. So that comes to parallel time streams. And that takes us to a very, very known figure in Islamic history, Mir Taqi